What's up, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite New York Jets subscription podcast, Badlands. I'm your host, Joe Caporoso. Sunday, late afternoon coffee, joined by Paul Kilgallen, a special, longer than usual episode, dropping a little later than usual, but it's like the White Lotus finale. It's a little like extended cut on your Sunday. We're going to talk about two or three things today. Predominantly, we're going to set the stage for our live show, which is this Friday, and kind of tell you what to expect. This is a big thing we've been working on for a while, mostly Paul and myself. So we're going to run through all of the details. So there's no surprises when you show up Friday. And then, of course, there's been 0 days since there's a Jets Twitter incident, as I'm going to say partially spurred by you and your mock draft pick, and then Rich Amini writing an article about the Jets' potential interest in Ashton Genty in the NFL draft, and if that means they could trade Breece Hall, has led to a wave of aggregators and Breece Hall tweeting a picture of a monkey smoking a cigarette, looking at a phone, and here we are. So we're going to talk a little bit about Breece Hall and Ashton Genty. PK, game week, how you doing? How you feeling?
I'm good. I did some manual labor around the house this morning, hanging out, doing all kinds of stuff this weekend. So I'm trying to distract myself as much as possible from being on stage on Friday, and hopefully I feel like this week's going to go fast, but it's also going to drag slow, and we can just get to it and if we can get to about 10 o'clock p.m. on Friday night, I'll be happy. So
Yes.
the sooner we can get there, the better. The monkey smoking the cigarette picture is hysterical. Like, I was actually laughing about it. Like, that's like genuinely good sense of humor from Breece, but also like, dude, just put the phone down for like a few minutes. Like, just let this one play out. Please just let it play out. It's wild how we've gone from a couple years ago. Like, Breece was like, thou shalt not talk badly about Breece. Like, if he makes a bad play in a bad game, we don't talk about it because the rest of the team is so bad. To this point now where like, it seems like some steam's building against him. So it's interesting how it's gotten there. But let's talk event first. Where do you want to start?
All right, let's properly set the stage for what the hell's going on Friday night. So the event is at Printers Alley in New York City, Midtown. It's like 40th between 7th and 8th. We are going to recommend that everyone arrives probably around like 6:15. Let's call it 6:15. The doors are really going to open. If you're in the city a little earlier, grab a drink maybe like somewhere else, because we're going to be setting up frantically, right? We're going to have the bar shut down for a tight window of time. We're going to be setting everything up. We are converting a good-sized Midtown bar into a stage for a live podcast, effectively. So we'll all get there around 4. We'll be scrambling to set up. Our hope is doors open at 6:15. Everyone come in. When you first come in, we'll be giving out first 100 people in, get a free Bud Light. First 100 people in, get a free Loverboy Seltzer. So grab a free cocktail. Get comfortable. We are setting it up where the stage is going to be built all the way in the back of the bar. Standing room is how we're going to set it up, because more people can get closer to the stage. That way there will be seats off to the side, and there will be some seats around the bar. If you do really need to sit, you will be able to sit. We want to get as many people as close to the stage as possible. However, as further support for viewing and listening, we will be flowing the show through every TV and all of the audio on the bar. So if you're not super close to the stage, you'll be able to see and hear everything. We'll have up to 3 of us on stage at once at a time. We're going to have about 6 different segments rotating with everyone who hosts episodes on Badlands. Also, Connor Hughes and Zach Rosenblatt will do a segment with me about being a beat writer for the Jets. Jake Asman is going to interview Connor and myself for one segment. Paul and Will have a segment with myself. Connor, Dan, and Meigs will have a segment previewing the NFL draft. Obviously, Connor and I are going to kick it off with sort of a traditional 30-minute or so riff like we would on any pod. And then we'll close with Q&A, and our boy Dobbin will be emceeing the whole thing and calling us up to different walkout songs like we're wrestlers. Open bar will run from let's call it about 7 to 9. So if you bought that open bar, it's 2 hours, all the beer, booze you can drink. There'll be some other specials on top of that. They'll be handing out some food. And then we'll be hanging out after, basically as late as I can physically stay up with everyone. And there'll be some other specials that are going after that. The longer you can hang out, the better. Before the show, we're going to be backstage, getting ready. So not really able to mingle as much. Post-show is when we'll be mingling like crazy. I'll close with that. This is our first time really doing this. We've done events. They've been great. I love when we get to hang out with everyone. This is a different scale. We have a professional production company. We have sponsors. We'll be shouting out and giving away some merch from Underdog and Bud Light and doing a few other things. So bear with us. I feel very good that we have everything in a good place. It will not be perfect. I'm sure there will be a glitch at some point. I'm trying to tell myself that'll be okay. We will have like a VOD of it that I'll put on the feed the next day, but our focus is really on the performance in the room. Like it won't be live stream. Like our focus is to like put on the best show we can in the room. And any footage we get, obviously, we'll roll out, later that night or in the days after. If you can, while you're there, take some pictures, tag Badlands on Instagram and Twitter, tag Underdog, tag Bud Light, tag Printers Alley. We want to, have this be the first of many. It will be the first of many as we have other ones planned upcoming in even bigger places and venues. Because bluntly, this has just been bigger than I expected. Maybe that was naive of me, and then I'll shut up and let PK fill in the blanks. But for a heads up, we basically have sold about 250 tickets. And then between Badlands, friends, and family, that's like 20 of us, people who are hosting and their significant others. And then the production crew is another 8 to 10 people. The bar has 8 to 10 people working. So there'll be about 300 people in the room for the event. Discord name tags getting handed out. There'll be a merch table where we'll be selling at a nice little discounted rate all of the merch we have. Whew. What did I miss, PK?
You covered a lot. Let me try to fill in some blanks. The bar's open till 4:00 in the morning, so we will hang out as long as we can. I don't know if I'm making it to 4. It's a bar in essentially Times Square, right? So it's going to be a fun time. You will not see anybody beforehand, right? Because like Joe said, we're going to be backstage. There's people handling all this stuff. We're not going to be taking tickets at the door. There is security taking tickets at the door. So bring your ticket or have your ticket available on your phone, right? It's not the type of thing that we're going to be able to solve. Like if like you like reach out to us on Discord, right? We're going to be kind of gone until we appear on stage. It's definitely a real deal thing. As far as the merch goes, it's nice. You never pay for shipping on badlands.com. So it'll be nice to be able to bypass the shipping costs and sell the merch at a little bit of a discount there. I think hashtag wise, as long as you're okay with it, Joe, I think Badlands Live, hashtag Badlands Live should be the official hashtag for the night, because the crew that we hired, they're mostly going to be taking pictures of us and kind of what's happening on stage, right? We wanted to keep the ticket as lean as possible. That's why we were able to sell tickets basically for an open bar in Times Square for $60 a pop and hire a production crew. We wanted to keep it as lean as possible. So part of that is we're not having a photographer take pictures of the event, right? So please, you do that and hashtag it Badlands Live. That way, when we go back and we want to look at pictures of the event, all we have to do is search that hashtag. We can find everything. There will be what's known in the biz as a step and repeat, which is essentially like what you see on a red carpet when celebrities take pictures in front of, a bunch of logos behind them, or what you see in a press conference, right, where the players are talking after the game. There will be a 10-foot long step and repeat for you all to take pictures in front of. So please take advantage of that. As far as the beforehand stuff, we have been, I'll use the word told, a better word might be warned by the bar to not show up at like 5:00, right? For you guys, right? So again, it's a bar in essentially Times Square. It's going to be busy. It's a busy area. There's probably going to be people leaving work at that time. So it's kind of like the busiest part of the day in the busiest part of the world. So just like try to get there at 6:00 or 6:15. There will probably be a line that will build up a little bit because, again, there is security at the door. There's going to be wristbands and hand stamps and all kinds of things going on to kind of denote what kind of ticket you have once you get through the door. And so start lining up around 6:00 or so. If you're going to get there earlier, please just go to a different bar nearby because it's going to be a cluster there until things get rolling. I think I'm going to take a pause now and say, Joe, did I miss anything?
No, it's a good shout on the tickets. Like we will have someone like bring your ticket. There'll be a person specifically designated checking them at the front. Open bar will get one color wristband. General admission, you'll get a different color wristband. Us will have our own color wristband. And, we'll have a Badlands flag out in front of the bar. We'll have a Badlands flag back behind the stage. So we'll have everything kind of geared up. It is actually like a Steelers and like Tennessee bar randomly. So we'll have that stuff covered up so it feels much more like a Badlands and Jets bar.
Please don't damage the Pouncy jersey on the walls, because
Yes.
then we have to pay for it, even
Don't
though
damage
I
anything,
want to.
please. Yeah. Please don't damage anything, ideally. It's going to be fun. I think getting those pictures using the hashtag would be great. We will appreciate that, because we'll be, obviously, it's important for us to like gather as much footage as we can from the night. We'll be like knocking out a lot of stuff beforehand that we just don't have yet, that we need to have, like headshots and pictures of us together on stage, which we don't have a lot of pictures of action of us together in the same room. So the more of that stuff we can get, the better.
The other one thing I did want to throw in is there will be food there, but eat your meal for the night before you come, ideally, right? It's going to be like finger foods, past appetizers. There's going to be waiters and waitresses walking around. So, like, it's not the type of thing where you're going to go to a buffet and fill up a plate. Like, there's just going to be food moving around the whole night. But I wouldn't want you to be in a position where you've had 6 beers and you've had like 3 shrimp cocktail and you're like, wait a minute, I thought I was going to have my dinner here, right? So there will be food, and there will be plenty of food going around all night. But if you want like a meal, definitely grab that before you come in.
Yes, good shout out. Have a base to soak up the alcohol. Have a big sandwich before. Get a big sandwich after. But yeah, it's more like food that's going to be passed around. Again, it will be crowded. Be friendly to everyone. Slap a name tag on from the Discord so we can all recognize each other if you are a Discord member. Knowing that 100% of the people there will be in the Discord. Again, our hope is to get to talk to and hang out with as many people as possible after the show. And the show will be like, it's a solid 2.5 hour show. And that will time up pretty well with the live bar. Like, we'll get on the mics around 7 and be like, the show's starting in like 10 minutes. Like, get your first drink from the open bar, get comfortable. First segment is like 7:15 to 7:50 with me and Connor. And then we'll just rip through like 5 other 20-minute segments, answer questions. And before you know it, it'll be like 9:30, 9:45. And it'll just be a fun night of a bunch of Crazy Jet fans hanging out in a bar in Midtown. And, that'll be it. We're really looking forward to it. We're excited about this becoming a more regular thing. It will become a more regular thing. We'll have a virtual version of this for the NFL draft where we're going to do like a live stream, but we want to do more actual experiential in-person events, and they will come again. So excited, a little nervous just because we've never done anything like this. I'm not nervous from a public speaking standpoint just because I do it so much and I never shut up. More just like, let's get everyone in. Let's get the AV going, and then like I will feel fine, and it'll be fun. We've been planning for this since like January, I think, and I thought we'd sell like 75 tickets, maybe. And honestly, if the capacity for the bar was not 300, I think we probably could have sold 400 or 500 tickets, and that's what we're going to aim for the next one in a different type of venue. But we're learning as we go, and be a good night. Any final words before we move to actual Jet chatter?
Yeah, I think this was a very big, like, prove it to ourselves thing, right? And congratulations to you for building what you've built here, because Will was the only one out of all of us that was, Nostradamusing, like, how many tickets we're going to sell. I think we were all kind of thinking, like, oh, like, hopefully we can get to 100, but this is a big step for all of us. And, it's very much a prove we can do it night. And so I think in addition to just looking forward to hanging out with everybody and seeing everybody, we're looking forward to like what this does for the company Badlands, and like kind of the spot that this moves us to a place where the next time we announce an event like this, like, it's going to sell out. You got to buy your tickets fast, and hopefully we can offer more and more each time. Right. I think starting at open bar in Midtown Manhattan is great, but like, where can we go from there? Can we go into a theater at some point where it's like stadium seating and everybody can sit down, and so we'll see where it heads from here. But I think this is a pretty big moment for us as a company, and we're excited that we get to share it with you. The one last thing I'll say is, before I got married, I had a person tell me that if anything goes wrong on your wedding night, you're the only one who knows about it, because you're the one that planned it, right? So like, if the flowers are the wrong color, like, it's really not that big of a deal. You're going to be mad about it, but don't worry, nobody else will know. And so I'm hoping that we can kind of take that attitude into Friday night, and that if there's minor details off here and there, we'll clean them up the next time, and hopefully they won't be too impactful to your experience. So we're really, really looking forward to hosting you, and let's talk some Jets.
Yes. And thank you, PK, for all the help in driving this forward and being adamant that we could and should do more events instead of just doing 71 podcasts a week. So It's exciting, and excited to work with the production company who's led by one of your buddies who's done a great job, and we'll make this feel more professionalized than it would have been if you or I tried to slap it together. We are podcasters, right? First and foremost, not production people. So,
Yeah, I won't say his name, but shout out to Long Con Productions. They are a Webby Award-winning production company that works for things that you've watched on TV before, right? And so this is a real deal thing, and we're excited and we're thankful to them.
All right, so our Sunday Jets drama. I, to say this is drama is probably a little silly. This is sort of the window where we're waiting for the draft to get here. So something's got to fill the headlines. Like you could only talk about Warren versus Membu so many times. So I do think, because I've contributed to this discourse a little bit, I do think there is a world the Jets do take Gentry. I'm not advocating for it. I'm not saying I would do it. I don't think it's the most likely thing that they'll do. I don't think it's one of the three most likely things that they'll do. But to say there's a 0% chance it would happen is naive because we have no idea. We don't know how Muji and Glenn are going to draft together. They've never drafted together. Glenn is coming from a place where they took Gibbs in the first round and it has worked out for them. And they've had this two-back system that has worked really well. The same people aren't here anymore, but it was widely reported the Jets wanted to take Gibbs that year, even when they had Breece Hall and didn't. So I think the point is crazier things have happened. I think most people agree that Gentry is one of the 3 or 4 best players in the draft and is sort of one of those surefire all pros, but he's a running back. And this is a really deep running back class. The Jets have a deep running back room already. You wouldn't take him unless you were really thinking of facilitating a Breece Hall trade. Even if you're like, well, we only have Breece anyway for like 1 more year and then we're going to franchise tag him. I see no world that if the Jets did take Gentry, which I don't think they will, and I don't think they should, to me, it would go hand in hand with a Hall trade. Now, I would not do that. I think Breece Hall is very good. I don't think it means anything per se that Glenn was like, look, like we have 3 backs we like and we want to divide the workload. The Jets are going to run the ball probably more than any team in the NFL. Like, just look at how their team is constructed. They're going to there's going to be weeks they try to run the ball like 40 times. So you're not going to give Breece Hall 28 carries a week. You need Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis to be a big part of it. Justin Fields will obviously be a big part of it. And Breece, we talked about this a little bit, has been banged up and did not look 100% for most of last year. So the Jets are probably going through the process of rewatching the tape and being like, can we be more thoughtful about how and where we use this guy? Now, what does that actually mean in practice if Breece looks electric early in the season and is ripping off 40-yard runs? I think they'll play the hot hand. But if Gentry is on the board, this isn't going to die until the Jets pass on him. So for me, it feels like if he's on the board, which I think is a major if because the Raiders could take him, someone could trade up for him, maybe not. I'd say it's like a 5 to 8% chance of happening. I think once you get past it's probably going to be Warren or Membu. And if it's not one of them, then it's probably more likely to be like a Kelvin Banks or a Tet or maybe someone like that. If Graham falls, of course, he'll be in the discussion. I feel like he won't. I feel like he'll definitely be gone. Once you get past all those names we've talked about endlessly, then it's like, all right, like, is it going to be Gentry? Did Will Campbell fall? Maybe. I don't know. But I do think, I'll say this, and I said this, I feel less strong about this than I did with the Garrett Wilson stuff. I was consistent in saying Garrett Wilson will be on the Jets next year. Garrett Wilson will get a contract extension from the Jets. And I stand behind that, and I feel the same way about Sauce Gardner. I would not say I expect Breece Hall to get some massive contract from the Jets. I think they're going to pay Garrett. I think they're going to pay Sauce. And then I honestly think it's more likely they pay AVT, JJ, Simpson next before they would pay Breece, just due to Allen and Davis being on the roster, Breece being a running back, and how many injuries he sustained already. That doesn't mean I don't think he will be on the team. I think he will be on the team this year. I think he will be on the team next year under a franchise tag, and then I think he will not be on the team. If you told me like this is his last year for the Jets, I would even go along with that, but I think he will be on the Jets this year because I don't think they're going to take a running back in the first 3 rounds. So you mock draft Gentry to the Jets, I think like a week or so ago. Kicked off this entire discourse. I'm claiming it came from Badlands, even though it didn't. It's been floating around for a while. Where's your head at with this? Is Breece Hall the Jets starting running back week 1?
I keep having to come on podcasts, other people's podcasts, and clarify what happened there. Jake presented me with a scenario where Membu, Warren, Cam Ward, the tackle, like everybody was gone. He took 6 players, the 6 most coveted players away, and what he left was essentially Will Campbell, or do you go another direction and you can't trade back? So I just want to clarify what happened there. I think what you mentioned about this administration, or at least Glenn, and Tanner Engstrand, by the way, being voices in the room when a franchise did something similar, which is potentially reach really high for Jahmyr Gibbs. And it happened not that long ago, and we have 2 of the voices that were in that room are now in this room. I think it also bears mentioning that Darren Muji took Javonte Williams with a top 35 pick in 2021. He was a voice in that room, right? So there are voices on both sides of the aisle here who have contributed to taking running backs high in the past. There's essentially 3 situations that can play out. It's, the most unlikely one is you keep Breece and you draft Genty and you have some kind of electric 2-back system, right? We know how unlikely that is, but that's one way it plays out. The other way is Breece is gone and you draft Genty. And the third way is Breece is gone and you don't draft Genty because this is a deep running back class, and you roll with Allen and Isaiah Davis, and maybe you grab one in the 4th or 5th round this year, right? So there's essentially 3 ways it can play out. I'm starting to wonder if it's more than just about running back market, injury history. Like, is there a cultural thing happening here? I have criticized Breece in the past for kind of the way he talks after games. Sometimes it feels like there's always quick to be an excuse, rather like with Garrett after a game, it's a lot of, hey, this is unacceptable and we all have to clean it up, blah, 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 right? And with Breece, a lot of times after the game, it's, well, no, you don't really understand what happened here. Like, and there's a lot of excuses. And I have to go back and search Jake and I's old pods. I don't know if there's a way for us to like query a word in all of our podcasts and see if we can pull it up, but I'll have to look into that, because right when we first hired Glenn, I said that I believed that at some point there was going to be a surprise sacrificial lamb that was going to come off this roster that we didn't know who it was, but like, we'll find out when we find out. And this could be it, right? Like, we could be steamrolling towards that at this point, especially if there was already some kind of thought in the brain trust's kind of mind about a cultural problem. And then this starts to bubble and Breece tweets, again, a picture of a monkey smoking a cigarette, looking at his phone, like, probably doesn't look great for your new bosses, right? And so I'm wondering if we're headed in that direction. I will say that number one, I hope we're not, because I really do like Breece. And number 2, I'm kind of with you. I think he's on the roster this year. Like, I don't really know how this plays out, but I think he's on the roster next year. I don't think he's on the roster super long term. But we were talking in the group chat before, and it seemed like some of the other guys like really think he's gone. And I align more with you. I think he's going to stick around this year, one way or the other. I think they figure things out, and it's some kind of running back by committee approach. Let me ask you, do you think that there's a cultural bit to this as well, or do you think it's purely a football decision?
I'm sure there are some considerations culturally that would go into any of this thinking. And I do agree that at some point, it might be now, it might be 6 months from now, it might be after this season, there will be that big surprise move on. Mathematically, you have to probably do it anyway, but optically, it would not shock me if they said, you know what, like, we watched the tape, and this could be fair or unfair. We didn't love how this guy played. Like, we obviously he's very talented, but the running style, like, it's just not for what we want to do. And we can't pay him, right? Like, Aaron Glenn is not going to, I'm thinking Aaron Glenn is not going to pass up the chance to coach Sauce Gardner. I believe that he believes he is the best corner in the league. And that's a former cornerback who is now a former scout, who is now a head coach, dream to coach someone that talented, who has every God-given ability to be the best corner in the NFL.
Yeah.
Garrett.
How many times is he going to say, like, if I had your height, if I had your length?
Yes, exactly. I mean, this is like a coach's dream. And I also think it's smart to pay Sauce. Same with Garrett. I think they view Garrett as like the face or one of the key faces of the franchise going forward, and they'll pay them. I think from there it gets muddy. I feel like he's already been very expressive about how he feels about Jermaine Johnson. We know they spent time together at the Senior Bowl. I think all of us expect him to be here long term. And I think from a mentality standpoint on defense, they badly need him back, even if he's not 100% right away. The offensive line stuff, I think there's no rush. I think you see how AVT looks health wise. I think you see if Simpson continues to kind of build on it. Those are like less pressing things. I could see that with Breece, like, yeah, it wouldn't just be a football decision. It would have to be that we need to make a statement. We don't think this is the style of guy or player we want. And I'm not saying that's right, because I don't actually agree with it, because I think Breece is awesome. And I like keeping awesome football players. And I think used right and used more consistently and healthy, he can be one of the best backs in the NFL and be like, there was a reason he was the number 1 or number 2 pick in every fantasy football draft last year, because he's that talented. I agree if you read into some of the press, like post-game stuff, like I like what I hear more from Garrett than I hear from Breece. I also I try not to get too worked up about that, because he's like a 23-year-old who's in a horrible situation, who probably won a lot in high school and college, and is now been in this situation where it looked like the Jets were crescendoing into this great young dynamic team at 7-4 his rookie year, well, before he got hurt. And then they've just been this disaster the last 2 years, and different guys handle that different ways. And maybe that's part of the assessment of Glenn being like, look, like the timelines just don't match up here, because we're not giving you a second contract. So let's just get on with it while we can get something back, because each year that passes, maybe it's less and less likely we get something back. Not a calculus I like, but a calculus. If you're deciding right now, we're about to give $1 gazillion to Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, I can understand. I still wouldn't take Genty even if I traded him. It's a deep running back class. Go get one on day 3, or like you did with Davis and Allen. Like, spend the pick on Membu or Warren, because their group of pass catchers and their right tackle right now it's ugly. It's just unserious to think you're going to roll out Chugs, Stone Smart, and Tyler Johnson in like prominent roles. And I know they have time to fix all that, but that's kind of where I'm at with it right now. I think this ultimately will blow over and he will be on the team week 1. And then I'd say 50-50 he's on the team in 2026 and 0% chance he's on the team in 2027.
What you said there about it's not a calculus you like it, but you think he's going to be on the team this year. I agree with you. I don't like it either. Like, I don't, but I will say this. It's a calculus I respect the hell out of. Like, for a guy like Glenn to come in here and just like essentially before you've even played a snap to be like, I am going to get rid of one of the most popular players here, one of the most talented players here, because long term this is the right thing to do for the team. Like, that's huge balls. And while I will disagree with taking the player off the team, I will respect and be willing to be patient with, like, okay, this dude is convicted in what he believes and he's willing to make big moves when it happens, because I think a lot of the feeling that we were left with once the previous administration had fully been purged out of here was like, they were kind of like wussies. Like, there was a lot of tough guy talk.
Mopey wussies.
Yeah, there was a lot of tough guy talk, but like at the end of the day, like, none of it was real. The all gas, no brakes, it was never real. It was a slogan that nobody actually adhered to. And so I think just the juxtaposition to that, to make that ballsy of a move, like, I would just be like, wow, man, like, all right, you're the right guy in charge.
It's going to be interesting, and knowing how things play out, this trade will happen like this Friday, which actually would be great. It would give us something to talk about all night. It would not be great if the trade happens. I think if anything happens, it would be over draft weekend. But again, I don't expect it to happen. It does give us some fodder for our mid-afternoon Sunday pod, because now we're going to be in the stretch these next 2 weeks going into our draft weekend coverage, where it's really zeroing in on these debates around pick 7. Who are some mid-round names that we really need to focus on? And the draft guide is, of course, going to put a nice bow on all that. That's about 10 days out from dropping, which is exciting, because that, if you're anywhere near like a casual draft observer, it will get you informed on what you need to be informed on, not just in round 1, but really the full 7-round picture. And I don't know, we could close with this and actually close since we're over 30 minutes. If you ask me today who I think the Jets will take at 7, my original mock pick was Graham. I think it's unlikely he is there. I think if he was there, they would take him. I then skewed a little more towards Warren. I would say now I'm skewing a little more towards Membu being more likely. And again, this is probably paralysis by analysis. My stretching to really read between the lines is that the Jets probably think they can draft a tight end in round 2 or round 3, and then maybe draft another one in round 6 and round 7, and like stitch it together with Ruckert and Stone Smart. And they're going to go take the tackle and say, we have a chance to have one of the 5 best offensive lines in football if everything breaks right and all these guys are young and we got good depth. And that's the kind of team we're going to be. We're going to have 3 running backs we like. We have the best running quarterback in football besides Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts and a couple other people. And that's what we're going to be. And we'll figure out tight end. It's a deep class. We'll figure it out on day 2 or day 3. I'm perfectly content. And I know it's not like a hot takey thing. I'm perfectly content with either Membu or Warren. I'd be very happy with Graham also if he was there. After that, like I'm open-minded to see, where it breaks. I do think when it's all said and done, it will be Membu or Warren. I'm like 52-48 to Membu now, though. Where's your head at?
Yeah, first of all, you unlocked a new fear in my head by talking about the possibility that news could happen on Friday night. Like that hadn't even crossed my mind. And now I'm picturing you and Connor on stage with your phones in your pockets and like a buzz starting to come over the room and somebody has to come on stage and tell you what happened. So thanks for that. No, I think I am sticking on Warren. For a couple reasons. Number one, we were in the same conversation last year of Bowers or a tackle, and they surprised everybody and slid a little bit back, and Bowers was still there, and they still went tackle. And so I think number one, it's that, and number two, I like Warren a lot, but also this is my first year helping out with the draft guide, and so I'm trying to pick up like a lot of like the bottom of the barrel of the class and like so I'm watching linemen that I like really haven't watched play much, and other positions too. But right now I've been working my way through some linemen, and there's some guys late in the draft that like I genuinely do like. Like there's a kid from UConn who's played tackle, but he's not a tackle. He's going to be a guard in the NFL. I think Meigs wants him to be a center. I hope Meigs puts it in writing. And there's a kid from Rutgers that I really like that lost 100 pounds. He's got an incredible story. There's a kid from Alabama A&M who got to participate in Alabama's Pro Day, and he played in the Senior Bowl because he's kind of elevated himself. And so I think that there's value to be had at tackle later in the draft too. And so I am going to stick on Warren, at least for the time being. We have a couple weeks left. But for right now, that's where my head's at.
All right. Sunday, mid-afternoon, right before you have your Sunday dinner, coffee. Don't drink coffee this late in the day. Have your coffee in your Magic Mind.
Drink Magic Mind. Yeah.
Drink your Magic Mind in the morning. Big Magic Mind week for me. I'll probably have 3 the day of the show. Just stack them up. We'll also have some type of team wager on Underdog. We'll let you guys know that we're going to do Friday at the bar. So we'll keep everyone posted on how we're going to handle that. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. All right. I think it stopped. Yeah, there we go.